Hey, there he is.
Hey, what up, dude?
How's it going?
It's going all right. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Just walking here in New York on, I guess this is 20th Street. Going back
Nice.
to right now. Where are you? That looks nice.
Yeah, hold on. I need to put on
Right.
a different pair of shoes for a moment. So if we're going to be if this is a walking podcast, is that the theme here?
That's the theme. It's always done on a walk or a running. We invite the listeners to walk around with us. Usually done in person, but last week I recorded two that were Zoom, where the other people didn't walk. They didn't do the walking. I did the walking. But if you're up to do the walk, if you think you'll have reception around you, I'm just going to be walking around like a basketball court near my apartment so that I don't lose reception. Well, may have lost reception already. Oh.
All right, here we go.
How's everything up there?
So everyone's good. Pretty happy. Is this a 420 friendly podcast?
Yeah, hey, man, it's what you want it to be. 420 today, right?
Dude. Happy 420. I've had so many fucking interviews and everything that I haven't even had time to participate. I'm just waiting for all my stuff that I actually have to be coherent on.
You don't need to be coherent for this.
Yeah, let me show you around. So this is this is my house.
Dude, that is nice.
Sunset's about to happen.
Oh, what lake are you on?
Here, I'll take you around. It's called Loon Pond. So now this is here's my front yard, my tiny house up there, the fire pit.
Oh man, that is awesome.
There's my house right here.
Wow. You're always in quarantine, so this is like nothing new to you.
Totally, man. Totally. All right.
That is so cool.
So tell me about this. So what is it? We just walk and talk, or do you need to start
it?
Yeah,
man.
What do you want to do?
Well, I'm already recording it, so we'll see. I mean, I could edit out the beginning, but already recording, and maybe I'll leave the recording in because it's always kind of fun to have a little banter in there.
For sure. Don't use the swear words. Sorry, I feel bad.
We can use swear words. It's, we were family friendly, but we've had a few swear words on there. Meb Keflezighi swears like a sailor.
What? Meb does?
No, I'm kidding.
I thought he was like the most purest human on the planet. That guy like breeds Jesus in like the world. He's an incredible human being, man. He's like an angel.
He is. He did not swear at all.
Okay. I'll swear enough for both of us.
But man, but actually you started off good. Usually the way
I reception.
I think it's pretty good. It cuts out a little bit, but I think we're going to do all right. I'm just getting to a place where I know I'll have good reception.
Okay.
But it's also a good start because usually the way we start is I ask people to, when I'm on a walk with someone, I say, can we visually describe for our members where we're walking right now so that if they're walking and running along with us, they get a visualization. But you just, showed. So actually, maybe for the people who are listening to this and not looking at the video, can you describe where you are right now?
Sure. About 5 years ago, I left the mean streets of New York City where we met, and I moved to the middle of the woods in New Hampshire. And so my wife and I decided to we'd never really grown our own tomatoes. And it's like, it was just kind of something that we wanted to try to see if we could live a more natural life. So we live on this little beautiful pond. It's called Loon Pond. And we heat our house with wood. We have our own well. We grow a vegetable garden. And we're just kind of just doing our thing up here, and it's beautiful. Oh, nice. We don't see our neighbors, and it's a perfect place to be right now. And yeah, it just feels great to be up here in nature.
That is so cool. I'm trying to convince my wife to do something like that, but she won't do it.
Yeah, it's been one of the best decisions in our life, and a lot of people, oh my God, what's it like living in the middle of nowhere, coming from New York City? And what we don't remember is like when I first got to New York City, it's a crazy place, and you don't realize how crazy it is and how caught up into the hustle when you're living there until you kind of leave it and have some time. And I think for me, this is a more natural way to live. than New York City. New York City is hard to adjust to. You just forget how hard it is because you're in it and you got to make it work.
Yeah. Although it's strange right now, like I mean, it's quiet. It's almost like walking in the middle of the woods in New Hampshire. There's like nobody out. I was walking.
Yeah, you're walking around without a mask on. Are you comfortable? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, everyone else is wearing a mask around me right now, but I took it off so I could do this. And where I am right now, I live in a place called Stuyvesant Town, which is very it's almost like you're not in the city. But there's nobody near me. Like I'm like 20 feet away from anybody that would be coming close to me. I'm definitely taking precautions, mostly for other people. Like I'm not too concerned
Right.
about it myself, but just but the other day, yesterday, I was doing a podcast, or on Saturday I was doing a podcast with a friend of mine, Gerard Adams, and I was literally just walking down the center of Park Avenue.
Cars,
no cars. It's like crazy.
That's pretty
totally
fun.
Crazy. And it's definitely an eerie feeling here in New York, but
yeah,
these are the days we live in. And I think it's good to be, there's obviously a lot of that I'm not happy about, but it's good to get shaken up a little bit. It gets you out of your comfort zone, if anything, because, I've been so stringent on this podcast that I've always had to do it in person, that you and I have been talking about doing this forever, but I've never been able to make it up to New Hampshire to do it. So now I've got the excuse to do it with Zoom, and we're making it happen.
Making it happen, man. See, adaptability. It's a sign of intelligence. Exactly. So we're doing something right.
There we go.
Yeah, I think in New York City, one of my most favorite times in New York City was always like early, like on a Sunday morning, Saturday morning. No one's on the streets except like, young coming out. Neat, peaceful time in New York City when it's just gonna get crazy in a couple hours. It's just like the calm before the day. So that's always my favorite time in New York City.
I like to get up and run early morning run club. Get out there and no one's. Although I'll tell you what, now I run on the East River in the mornings, and usually there's not too many. I'm not like the only one out there, but usually there's not too many people out there. Now there's more people than there were before.
That's crazy.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Because they all want to go out and get some fresh air, which I hope that sticks around. I hope that stays. I hope that people,
continue to be active.
And continue to appreciate that they can get some fresh air and go for a walk and a run.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously while using charity miles.
Obviously, we hope that they're using charity miles. Activity in the app is more than doubled in the last month because it's the only thing people can do. Yeah, it's been amazing.
Great. And how is that? How are your community responding to it? Does it give them more inspiration to go out there and work out?
I think so. I mean, this is our time to shine, this is what we were made for. And I was saying this, I know that you were today, so what you were supposed to be doing today is running the Boston Marathon, right?
Yep. So yes, I was.
And we were supposed to have a lot of members that were running the Boston Marathon. I know that kind of at the very beginning when things started to early in March, when there was is the Boston Marathon going to be canceled? Is the Boston Marathon going to be canceled? As if that was the biggest part of this ordeal, right? Oh my God, they canceled South by Southwest, as if that was the biggest. They had to cancel an NBA game, as if that was the biggest part of it. But what we realized, we haven't, all the people out there training for marathons, they weren't just training for that marathon; they were training for this moment.
Yeah.
Right. All the grit and resilience that they've been building up over all those miles, it was really about this moment, and this is our time to shine. So it's been amazing to see the way that our communities come together. The way that our charities are rising to the occasion, the way that our sponsors are rising to the occasion. It's been amazing.
Yeah, and that's, one of the main reasons. That's what inspires me to run. Every time I run or do something, I always try to do it, with a charity in mind. And this current marathon, Boston Marathon, that I'm not running, I was working with your buddy Harry Baxton, Active Against Cancer, which is a charity for exercise oncology at Memorial Sloan Kettering. And in conjunction with that, I was working with Boston Cannabis Week. And so Boston Cannabis Week is a week's worth of free cannabis programming in the month of September. And they were going to sponsor me to run the marathon with them and a couple other CBD brands that were going to get behind me to help, help make this day special, because it was 420, which is today. And
Is
wanted
this
to
week
finish the
also
marathon.
Boston Cannabis Week?
No, this week is not Boston Cannabis Week, but it's a brand here in Boston, and every year they have a week's worth of cannabis programming in September. So they're just going to sponsor me on 420 because there's a relevance and connection between April 20th and 420 and 420 and yeah.
I forget, were you actually going to run the Boston Marathon high, or were you just going to run it with like CBD products?
Yeah, no, I was never going to run it high like that. That's not something I'm comfortable doing. I'm not that guy. But I was definitely going to use CBD products, because for me, CBD has been a huge help with my post-run recovery. I use a Solve on my, my legs and my muscles, but I also take CBD like daily, like a multivitamin.
So wait, I guess maybe we should probably like introduce you to let people know who you are. So why, like what your like backstory is, because you do have like an amazing backstory that would probably shed some light into everything we're talking about, maybe some of the other stuff that we'll talk about. So you were king of your Hebrew school, was probably
Definitely.
the first thing that you want to
the
talk about.
marijuana mensch started early. The kosher cannabis king.
There you go.
There you go. No, I mean, we go way back, but for some of the listeners that may not know what's going on in my life, I was a former professional soccer player that was lucky enough to be chosen to participate in the reality television show Survivor. And so I played Survivor in 2001 and won it. It was Survivor
it the first
Africa.
season?
It was the third season.
Third season. And you won it.
Third season. And I won it. Yep. And, I used that money to co-found a charity called Grassroots Soccer. And we are an adolescent health organization that uses the power of soccer to help kids make healthier choices in life. And what else can I tell you? And then I went and played Survivor again and lost. And then now, 6 years later, I am back on Survivor Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. on CBS. It's called Winners at War. It's season 40, and they asked back 20 of the most popular winners of all time to compete for not $1 million, Gene, but $2 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait a second. I didn't realize that you were on Survivor a second time.
This is my third time playing.
Right, but I didn't realize. I knew that you were on it. I knew that you won it. I didn't realize that you were on it in an intermediate time that you lost.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. Well, it wasn't awesome, but yeah, it's awesome that I was able to play.
Survivor is the one reality show that I would want to be on.
Nice.
Like that, I would want. And actually, so when I was in law school, I used to coach the Harvard Boxing Club, and there was another for the undergraduates, and we had people from all the different schools that would come out to practice, and there was another guy from the law school that came out to our workouts. His name was Alex, and he ended up going on Survivor, but he was like the Harvard lawyer boxer on Survivor was like his story.
What was his last name?
I can't remember his last name, but he was a good-looking dude. He was tall, very handsome.
He's on the show?
He was on it like a long time ago. Like whenever I was in law school, it was like 2002 or 2003 or something.
Alex. Okay.
So I think it was after you.
Yeah, definitely for me.
But you're a Survivor. I could talk about Survivor. I think it's such a cool show. There's probably some lessons there on quarantine that you can isolation that you can share with us. We need some fire tokens right now.
Yeah, you do. I'm doing squats right now because the walking thing just isn't working. So I hope that's okay. I'm staying moving. I'm exercising.
I like it. I appreciate that.
Okay, good.
Squats, maybe some lunges.
Definitely, I'll do that.
But you're also a survivor in other ways, right?
I am, Gene. I am.
You are.
Yeah. So I'm also a 2-time cancer survivor. So the word survivor represents me pretty well, and I always think I'm like just happy I wasn't on that show, The Walking Dead, because that would have been a horrible situation.
Yeah.
or Who Wants to Marry a Nice Jewish Millionaire, that one.
There you
Yeah, so
go. You could be the Desperate Housewives of the New Hampshire woods.
I
That could be you.
live free or die, my friend.
There you
Live
go.
free or die.
So
Yeah.
when you're a 2-time cancer survivor.
Correct. Yeah. So the way that the timeline worked is, so I played soccer, went on the show Survivor, and then in 2009 I was diagnosed with a rare form of blood cancer called CD20 positive Hodgkin's lymphoma, and trust me, I never heard of it either at the time.
Yeah, easy for you to say.
Right. I was in New York City, living there at the time, and I went through multiple rounds of chemotherapy, 22 blasts of radiation. I had a stem cell transplant that ended up failing. So then I went on to get more chemotherapy, more radiation, and now an experimental new drug, which got my cancer into remission. And then I was able to go on to get a second stem cell transplant, this time with using my brother Lee's stem cells and DNA. So yeah, so the fact that I'm still around right now feels pretty good.
Yeah, amazing. So was that the first time? Was that both the first and the second time that you had cancer?
Yeah, that was the first time was in 2009. Second time was in 2011. So I've been in remission for about 7-8 years now.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But honestly, like running, I use it, when I was recovering from cancer and trying to kind of get my groove back, I guess you can say. Fitness has always been a huge part of my life, and I wasn't able to kind of play soccer at the level I wanted to, so I really got into running. And so after cancer is when I started running marathons, and that's when I was introduced to you and found your app. And so your app was definitely helpful in my training, recovering from cancer, because I looked out the window of Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital on First Avenue when I was like holed up in the bubble for months. And I'm like, I'm going to run up that road, and I'm not going to run in, and I'm not going to have to go into the hospital for an appointment. And that was like my motivation. And I would walk the halls of the 8th floor of Sloan Kettering all day, every day, just to try to keep myself fit. And I wasn't using your app at that time, but when I got out, I just started training, and I ran the New York City Marathon 9 months after my stem cell transplant. And felt pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome. So now that we got the backstory, Survivor in more ways than one.
Yeah.
What was this marathon for you going to be about today that you were training for?
Today was about a whole bunch of things. Obviously, it's a fun time in my life because I'm back on the show Survivor, and the show is currently airing, so it's going to be a little bit exciting around that. And because I'm involved with the cannabis industry, it was a perfect timing because it is 420. So that was part of it. And last time I ran Boston was in 2013 when there was the bombings. So I never got to finish. I was at mile 24. Really? I was at mile 22, sorry.
Check this out. Sorry to interrupt. Right now it's 7 o'clock in New York. Oh, yeah. And every night at 7 o'clock they go crazy and they cheer for the workers.
I want to hear this.
So I'm not sure if this is going to come through on the podcast, but I'm in the center of Stuyvesant town. There's all these buildings around me, and everyone's coming out the window, cheering and playing music. That's incredible. Cool. I didn't even plan that for the podcast. Good timing.
Really good timing.
Woo!
Man. Woohoo! I'll cheer. Clap, clap, clap. Woo!
Woo!
All the wildlife here in New Hampshire can hear you. We're all chirping for the New York.
The birds are chirping. Yeah, we got some wildlife here for you too.
Yeah, squirrel. Hey, bud. But to be honest, man, just to put things into perspective, you're saying it's a really weird place in New York City, and I get that. But when I see the empty streets and the closed stores and the schools out of session, for me, that's an act of love. That's a collective movement amongst all the people to stay out of the way of the healthcare professionals. And when I was in New York City, I literally was I was in isolation for 260 days. And so I know what it's like to be in the city and be in isolation for that long, and it's not a great place to be. So if I would have had gone out in the road like I was petrified on a daily basis because I was so immunocompromised. I had to wear a mask and gloves all the time. And so it's really nice that there's no one around, because the vulnerable people can now be a little bit more safe. So if you're a little frustrated with what's going on and you don't want to stay inside, I can tell you, like, listen, from my perspective, I mean, it's a miracle when I don't see anyone on the streets, because it's safe. It means safety for me, so I appreciate everyone for staying home right now.
Yeah, like it is. That's a great way to say it. It's an act of love. It's an act of courage. It's an act of love. It's an act of sacrifice. And it's amazing how many people are doing it, and it's made a huge difference. Obviously, it's bent the curve.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that's cool to see, man. Nice.
And people are ringing bells right now. And I love that they do this every night at 7 o'clock. They're ringing bells. They got music going on.
It's incredible.
It's very cool. Wait, so just kind of while we're talking about the marathon, you were. I forgot that the show, the actual Survivor show, is airing at the moment.
Correct.
Right? So you already know what happened. You obviously can't tell us what happened. How far into the show are you now? And like, are you
I think we're on episode 9 or 10 right now out of like 13 episodes. And I don't, in case we got some Survivor fans out there, I don't want to spoil anything. So it's my advice to you is go back and watch the show. It's pretty entertaining, because like I said, they invited 20 $20 million winners to play again. We are all experts of the game. We're all professional Survivor players. And they asked us back, to come duke it out. So it's really exciting.
So is it something that we can binge watch now? Because that's obviously all the rage these days is, what you can binge watch while you're on quarantine.
Yeah, you can go. I think you can watch them all on CBS.com. You got to watch them with commercials, but there's, the first 9 episodes are up online right now. You can watch all the seasons, like old seasons, on whatever. I think like Hulu or Amazon has them. So if you really want, I highly suggest watching Survivor 3 and Survivor 8. Those are definitely the best seasons. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't. Wait, so are you, with what you can tell us, like without ruining the shows that they haven't aired yet, are you still on the island or wherever it is? Is it on an island?
Yeah, it's an island. We filmed in Fiji, the Mamanuca Islands. So the way the game is organized, structured this season, is when you're voted off, you don't go home. You go to this place called the Edge of Extinction. And the Edge of Extinction,
like the penalty box?
It's like purgatory. It's like your world between life and death. You're kind of in the game and you're kind of out of the game. You're kind of out of the game because you're just not competing on a daily basis. But by living on the edge of extinction, you have 1, 2, 3, or whatever, maybe more chances to get back into the main game. And so it's basically 2 parallel games going on at the same time. And it's kind of really exciting.
Huh, that is exciting. We'll have to put this on and start binge watching it.
Definitely. And I'm here for you if you need any behind the scenes chat.
Okay. All right. Off the record. You probably can't even do that, right? Like you're sworn to secrecy, even like off the record.
Completely sworn to secrecy.
But the reason you got into the cannabis thing, at least I think, is that the cannabis was helpful for you in your recovery, or maybe you were into cannabis before that anyway, recreationally, but the cannabis was helpful for you in your cancer recovery, right?
Yeah, definitely. Growing up as a competitive athlete, soccer player, it was never really a part of my life,
Right.
But then when cancer came along,
soccer players smoke weed. What are you talking about? I know a ton of soccer players that smoke weed.
Well, do you know a lot of professional soccer players that smoke weed? Maybe you do.
I think so.
All right, maybe.
I don't know. Like, I don't know any. I do know one professional soccer player. I can't say that I know that he ever smoked weed, but I went to high school. Tim Howard was my high school goalie.
Nice. That's a good claim to fame. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
I have no idea. I never was that close with him. He probably wasn't. Like, he was such a serious athlete. Like, he would leave our practice to go practice with the Metro Stars.
Right.
And like, he was operating on like a completely different level. For people who don't know out there, Tim Howard is like the greatest American soccer player
Go.
ever. He's a goalie, like one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And I always say he was such a good goalie because I was such a bad defender, but that's not even true because I was riding the bench and I had nothing to do with it at all.
Yeah, he was a really good goalkeeper. So,
but there's definitely like the other soccer players that I know, like on our team, they definitely smoke a lot of weed. Anyway,
yeah, maybe. I was
so
never in it for the
that was not you.
recreation. That was not me.
Yeah.
No, but when I was, when I got sick, obviously I was aware of it and like medical properties that it could have to help mitigate the side effects of cancer treatment. So I kind of experimented with it at that time. But, living in New York City, it was really hard to get because the doctors wouldn't prescribe it. And I was going down to the streets with, a mask.
Uh-oh, froze up.
It was really a nerve-wracking situation. So once it started becoming more readily available and recreationally available, like it interested me to help, educate some other cancer folks out there on just the beneficial properties. And now I use CBD. It really helps with my anxiety and like the stress of, I'm a pretty anxious guy.
The stress of living in New Hampshire in the woods?
Well, the stress of trying to like deal with the fact that cancer may come back and living a condensed lifestyle, like I live in fear every day that they're going to say, oh, you got cancer again. Like that's what it's like having cancer. I now more than ever, like people might get a better understanding is like, if you get exposed to someone with corona and now all of a sudden you got to wait 14 days to know if you have it or if you don't, that's what it's like every single day of my life. You're just waiting for the other foot to drop. You're never in the clear. You never know if the cancer's back or if there. You feel good and you might be living a great lifestyle, but you never know. Your next scan, you could go there and the cancer's back. So just like that's kind of the way we live, or at least the way I live. And it's a really tough thing. So, imagine getting the virus and having to wait 14 days and then you got to go back in another 14 weeks to see if you're cleared. You don't know if you infected other people. Like it's a scary situation, and that's kind of the way you live.
So even though you've been in remission for this entire time, it's not like, okay, like it's been a long enough time, I think I'm in the clear?
Never. Yeah, I never have
Is that like a post-traumatic stress? Or is it like really the case? Like, because like what the stats on cancer are like 1 out of 3 men and 1 out of 2 women or something are going to get cancer. So to some extent, we should all be living with that type of fear, right? Or are you or are you more susceptible? Are you more vulnerable to it because you've already been through it?
No, none of the above. Like, I don't think everyone should be living like that in fear that they may get cancer. I think that's a bad way to live. But once you do get it and you've survived it and then it comes back and there's no long-term data on kind of the survival rates of people on experimental new therapies, there's always a chance that it may come back again. Like you're never in the clear. So like it's kind of trying to live with that and planning your life and picking up the pieces after a diagnosis like that when you're 35 years old. Like when you're a pediatric cancer patient, you got your parents to take care of you. All your decisions are made. If you're an older adult with cancer, you're married, you got a job, you got health insurance, you got family that can probably take care of you. If you're 35 or a young adult and you get cancer and survive, your whole life's in front of you. Health insurance is a problem. I can't get life insurance. I'm stuck, in certain job situations because they do have my health insurance. You never know. I can't have kids anymore, right? So like you don't know so your whole life is in front of you and you don't know how to deal with it because it's really hard to map out your life, or at least it was for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So have you gained some perspective from that you feel like is relevant? Maybe, well, I guess is it relevant to what people are going through now, or should it be relevant to what we have been going through always? Because I feel like, just like myself, I feel like I've gained an appreciation for a lot of things that I should have had all along, like over the last month. Just
that's good. I'm glad
appreciative feeling appreciative of going out, being able to go out for a walk or a run. I appreciate a lot. I always appreciated it, but I appreciate it a lot more now. Going into the supermarket and seeing
Good.
food on the shelves, I appreciate it a lot more now than I did before. I should have appreciated it all along. But is that like a perspective that you have that from
I
your
don't know.
cancer that you?
I don't know if I can say I do or I do not. However, I've been through some shit and I figured out a lot of things on my own and with the help of, the community around me. So do I have a better perspective? I don't know. I feel that, I feel like I've made some choices in my life that have come because of getting through cancer. And now I'm a happier person because of it.
Well, what's interesting is you were on Survivor before you had
Cancer,
right? Like
yeah.
one of the reasons I started to run marathons is because I wanted to toughen myself up so that I could face like other challenges in life.
Huh.
And what I've also I'm just a Jewish kid from New Jersey. I'm not tough, so I needed to like get tough. I needed to develop some like grit so that when I could take on bigger challenge. I thought, if I can run marathons, I can do anything. And that I learned was totally false. Like running marathons is like nothing compared to like real challenges in life. So like, did you feel like, I was on I'm gonna go on Survivor and like I'm gonna like, if I can do Survivor, if I can win Survivor, I can do anything. And then all of a sudden you get hit with cancer and it's like, holy shit, like this is nothing. This is like a totally different ball game. Or did you have like your experience on the island like help you at all with the
I
ordeal
think,
of actually?
like I said, I was always an athlete. So like I was a competitive guy. I like to challenge myself just in general, so when I saw a show like Survivor kind of out there where it's the most incredible game and that touches on every part of you as a human being, mental, physical, social, spiritual, environmental, financial, and to do that like on the world stage with millions of people watching was exciting to me. I wasn't necessarily like motivated by the money. I was motivated by winning and having that title. Like no one will ever take that away from me. And then when cancer came around, I think knowing how far I could push my body because of Survivor, I knew a little bit how tough I was, how far I could push my body. And so I was a little bit comfortable not comfortable, I was aware of what it would be like to be at your lowest in terms of your physical and mental state. So I think it helped me in that sense, but obviously nothing can prepare you when you're like fighting for your life versus fighting for $1 million. It's just different.
Right. Totally different.
Like, the game, I know the game's going to last 39 days and then I'm going to get home. You can set your mind to it. Cancer, you just, you just never know. Yeah. Kind of like what's going on now. Like no one has any idea how long this virus will last. So it's really hard to plan and map out your life when it's so uncertain. And uncertainty breeds anxiety, and anxiety is not a good place to live in right now. So, if everyone can try to accept that this thing's going to happen for a little bit and you're going to be in this state for a while. Once you accept that and get a little bit away from the denial, then you can get to the next stage of this process, which is mapping out how you and your family are going to protect yourself and live for the next 6 months. And if it ends earlier, great. Everyone's psyched. But without acceptance, you're living in denial. And if you're denying what's really happening in the world and how the world's changing, I think it can hinder you from making smart decisions.
Is that something that you learned on Survivor? Is that something you learned through your cancer? Is that somebody, when you were going through your cancer, did someone teach you that process?
My wife taught me that process.
Your wife, okay.
My wife, yeah. My wife is right here right now. You're on a podcast.
Right, hello.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi.
Hello, what's your wife's name?
Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Let's see, Lisa. We got video on this podcast too.
Yeah, we're trolls right now. I haven't showered. I haven't done anything in months. You're lucky I'm even like showing my set face to you right now.
I was just inquiring about his dinner, but I will carry on.
So I got dinner calling. We got to wrap this shit up.
All right, we'll wrap it up. So, but actually, maybe that's just one thing to wrap it up with. Like, your wife taught you got to accept. Is that the first step?
I think the first step in trying to control anything that you can't change or you don't know what's going to happen is acceptance. You know, like I guess how do you know, one of my, like when with living with cancer, like I was talking about it, some of the major issues I was having was what I call these what if scenarios, right? So like I was living in this world where I would just I'd start obsessing about what may happen to me. So what if I die? What if the cancer comes back? What if the chemo doesn't work? What happens? So I was just living in these what if scenarios, and which isn't a way to live. And what happened is, if I took that what if scenario and I mapped out, if I accepted and I went to the darkest place, let's role play right now. What if I get the virus? Let your mind go there. Let it go there. Try to experience what it would be to get the virus, and, you know, put yourself in that position. And then you can now take a piece of paper and say, all right, if I go to the darkest place, if I get this virus, what am I going to do about this what if scenario? You write it all down. I'm going to get tested. I'm going to isolate myself. I'm going to have to go to the hospital. I'm going to call my mom. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then now all of a sudden, if I get in that state of mind where I start obsessing about what if I get the virus, I just wrote out the entire plan. I accepted that I might get it. I wrote out the plan. I know exactly what I'm going to do if I get the virus. And now I can push that away and get on with my day. So that's kind of how I deal with my what if scenarios. And I had a lot of what if scenarios, and to be able to map it out and plan what would happen if that situation really happened freed my mind of obsessing over it.
I like it. That's dropping some wisdom for people.
Getting really deep here, man.
There we go.
But you know, people's probably going through like a really nutso time right now, and it's very overwhelming. The world's uncertain, it's changing, and you don't necessarily know how to get control of something that you can't control. And as humans, we like to control things. You know, we have our Netflix and our schedules and our school and our yoga teacher and our trainers and our dinner deliveries. Like, we know exactly what we're going to get, when we're going to get it, and how we're going to get it. And now you don't have any of that. And you don't know what the hell's going to happen. So it's hard to live in a world that you can't control. And I feel that one of the ways you can control things is if you accept what's going to happen and then map out how you're going to live your life after that.
I like it. All right. So with that, I think that's some good wisdom. You got dinner calling.
I got dinner, man. Psyched.
You got dinner. You gave you a little dessert, maybe. I don't know. If you're, 420. Who knows?
It is 420. So that's another reason I need to get off the phone. I need to go medicate, right? But before I do that, Gene, I need you to just appreciate the sunset here on Lynn Pond. Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Can you see that?
That is incredible. Yeah, I just took a little screenshot of that, too. That is amazing.
I'll get up on the rock for you.
How nice is that?
Yeah, every night, bro. Every night. Sunsets right.
Maybe that'll convince my wife. It's time to get up there. Are you close to Rumney, New Hampshire?
Not sure if I know where Rumney is.
Near like Plymouth?
No, we're not near Plymouth. We're in a place called Hillsborough. We're like west of Concord, New Hampshire.
Okay. My wife would like to go up to Rumney because there's really good rock climbing up there.
Oh, yeah.
I think that might be the selling point if I could tell her that we're just like a few hours from Rumney.
Dude, it's the granite state. You live on rock. That's all that it is. If you like rock climbing, this is the place to be. Yeah. Hey, are you editing this or are you just throwing it straight up?
I usually just throw it straight up, but is there something you want me to edit out?
No. I guess not.
I just throw it straight. I never really edit because all the other ones I've done, it's like I'm walking and talking and there's noise in the background, so it's really hard to edit that out. So I just throw it up.
Yeah. All right, cool. We'll see how it goes.
This has been good. And now that we got Zoom, there's some video involved too. I'll see if the video came out all right. And,
all right.
But this is awesome, man. I'm glad that we got to do this. Like I said, it's one of the positives of this coronavirus is that it forces us to get out of our old habits and try new things. So finally able to make this podcast happen. I've been hoping to do it for a long time.
Me too. Yeah, it's always great talking to you.
It's a good day to do it.
You've been a huge supporter of grassroots soccer and all my initiatives.
I love what you guys are doing.
Has been great, so I appreciate that. And
likewise, dude.
I hope we can jog together in person someday soon. I will be running the New York City Marathon if it's on, and I will be running the Boston Marathon if it's on. They're going to be about a month apart, so hopefully manage,
There you
my
go.
body can hold up. But if you're there,
Gotta get some training in.
yeah, that was a whole nother thing. Like I was ready to run Boston and they said, no, it's not like I can keep training going for another, like for the 3 months before I really got to start training. That's such a pain in the butt. I hate that.
Well,
But
there's worse things. You can go out and run 26 miles tomorrow if you want.
I could. I might do that.
Here you go. Let me know if you do. Well, happy dinner. Happy 420. Thank you for doing this. Wait, hold on a sec. That's a good picture right there. There we go. Got a nice screenshot of you. Cool. All right, man. Thanks to everybody for walking and running along with us. Big thanks to Ethan. Everyone matters, man.
All right. Peace out, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Charlie Miles. Talk to you soon, Gene.
Later, Ethan.